Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear. This week, we're talking about the number one rule for peak performance. If you want to be good, and no matter how good you are, there is one thing that you have to be, or that we have to be, and that is available. Available. We have to be available. My old strength coach, my good friend Chris Lewandowski, he was with me for years, always says that it doesn't matter how good you are, it doesn't matter what you know, it doesn't matter what you've done. If you're not available to perform, then it doesn't matter. You're not the best because you can't do your job when you need to. I started thinking about this as I was watching the World Cup a couple weeks ago, and I saw Lauren James from England step on the back of the Nigerian player's back. Obviously, they got in a little tussle, a little tackle, and she got up, pushed up, and then stepped her foot down and kept running. Drew a yellow card. What happened after that? They stop play, they review it, they give her a red card. What happens after that? They play a man down for the rest of the match, maybe 30 extra minutes, and they also play 2 more games. Neither of them guaranteed, because one's the quarterfinals, one's the semis, without one of their top goal scorers. It didn't matter how good she wasn't available. The commentator said it was from pure frustration. The commentators went on to say that she was the hero in the game against China and the villain on this day. And all because she allowed her frustration to make her unavailable. She wasn't just unavailable for the rest of the game. She was unavailable in that moment. She wasn't available to do her job because her thoughts, her emotions affected her behavior. She made a choice that put the whole team in jeopardy. It happens to us all. No judgment. We've all been there. But the bottom line is that they can slow the game down at the top level. When you need it the most, they can slow it down and see what you did. So we've got to be able to slow it down and see what we need to do. So the question here is, how can we keep ourselves available? Or how does being unavailable really affect our performance? Well, I've got 5 ways in the tip if you go to ssbperformance.com/blog. And number 1 is, when we're frustrated, it's a huge energy suck. It's like running a marathon. It's like trying to run up a hill with a backpack full of rocks. Or you run up and you slide down a couple steps. And it's the frustration saps our energy, because the attention that we have, that precious attention, our precious focus, is diverted away from what we need to do into the feelings or the thoughts of frustration. So it sucks the energy right out of us. It takes a lot of energy. Think about how you feel after you've been angry. When I was a young coach, I would get angry about something, throw my clipboard, act like a fool, and I couldn't recover. So I had to learn how to adapt, because I wasn't helping myself or anyone around me with those shenanigans. Number 2, tunnel vision takes over. You're sitting in traffic. All you can think about is the fact that you're going to be late. You're not paying attention to things around you. In fact, sometimes we speed up and slow down. We get tunnel vision, and we can't see anything except what's right in front of our brain. And right in front of our brain is not really the guy that's in front of us in the car. Like I talked to my hitters about the fact that you're seeing, but you're really not seeing. What's right in front of our brain is the fact that I'm stuck in traffic. This is ridiculous, blah, 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 blah. And we've got tunnel vision. We don't see the forest for the trees because we're right there on the frustration. Number 3, our creativity goes out the window. Our ability, Lauren James's ability to get up and make the best of that situation and use her talent and her training to its fullest, gone. All she could think about was, you took me down, or I took you down, or we took each other down, and you're going to pay because I'm frustrated. The game hasn't gone my way to this point, and my frustration is going to come out right now. Boom, there I go. Maybe no one will notice. But that creative energy that we need to use our unique abilities is not available because our energy is being sucked away by the frustration. Number 4, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. We know that team dynamics are vital to peak performance for our group, whoever we lead. Doesn't matter if we're in a business or on a field or a court. But when frustration rears its ugly head, it catches like wildfire. The ripple effect is almost immediate. We know that that negative energy just pours through. So think about it. She gets the red card. What's the rest of the team thinking? They're either pissed off at the referee or they're mad at her. But I know what they're not doing. They're not thinking about what their job is right then and there. The frustration will permeate. And that's a problem. We know that. Number 5, it dummies down our ability to make decisions. When we're clouded with frustration, we often don't make the right choice. Think about the choices that you make in frustration. That was Lauren. She made a choice in frustration that she paid dearly for. Fortunately, her team overcame and was successful without her. But who is to say that that would be the case? That shows a lot of resilience for England's team. But our decision-making goes out the window. So if all of these things are the ramifications of our unavailability, how do we become more available more often? I've got a couple suggestions, as I'm sure you figured. Number 1, we can start by acknowledging the fact that we are going to get frustrated. It is real. We can't pretend it doesn't happen. We're not avoiding it. Well, it's going to come to us. We are going to find frustration. Even when we're not looking for it, we will get frustrated. But we can prep ourselves by knowing that it's going to come. It's not an if then, it's a when then. And we can put in an implementation intention. Implementation intention. Big word for if then. I can picture myself. I can mentally rehearse a frustration and watch myself succeed through it. Or calm myself. Watch myself be in the right mind to make the right choice and use my talent in that moment to do my best. If I acknowledge it, that it's going to happen at some point, I can be ready for it. And when it does come, it's not a surprise. And here I go on to do my job, which is being available. Number 2, we can stop listening and start talking. This is a great time when we get frustrated to talk with others. Encourage someone else. Give what you see to somebody else. Why? Because now we're outward focused. We need to start talking to ourselves as well. In the book, The Confidence Gap, the author, I think his name is, where is it here? Russ Harris. I went to school with a Russ Harris, so I doubt it's him, but we'll see. He uses the word fused, that we become fused with our thoughts. We become fused with our emotions. And he says we become completely entangled in them. We've got to be able to defuse that and separate ourselves from our thoughts and our emotions and realize that they are just words and pictures. That if we could ask ourselves those questions, what's important now? Is this thought really helping me? Is what I'm doing right now making me a better athlete, a better business person, a better leader? That question separates us from that frustration. And when we ask questions, our brain looks for solutions. That's a positive. And lastly, no matter how we feel, we need to remind ourselves that we can act differently. I am certain at some point in your life you have wanted to throat punch someone, or maybe that's just my former assistant telling me that she felt like doing that at least once a week. But she didn't do it. I bet you didn't do it, because if you did do it, you wouldn't be probably a free person leading an organization or watching these videos. We often act differently than we feel. Try this. Just try this. Tell yourself numerous times, oh, I can't stand up. I'm too tired to stand up. I can't stand up. I can't stand up. Too tired to stand up. Can't stand up. While you may have lulled yourself into a little bit of, little less aware than you are, alert, I should say, than you were before you started talking to yourself in that way, I bet when you try to stand up, you can still stand up. Just because we think something, just because we feel something, just because those two things may be fused a little bit, we can act differently. I can't raise my hand. Oh, I can raise my hand. Amazing. We can act differently. And if we remind ourselves of that, if we remind ourselves that that's what champions do, They act different than they feel. They act different than they think. Just because we feel like punching somebody doesn't mean we're going to do it. We stop ourselves. Andrew Huberman from the Huberman Lab calls those no-goes. We constantly are stopping ourselves from doing the things, or we know that's not real, that's not rational. It's just a thought. It's just a feeling. It has nothing to do with whether or not my feet can do what they need to do, my hands can do what they need to do, my mouth can do what it needs to do, my posture can do what it needs to do. It has nothing to do with that, because I get to choose to act differently than how I think and feel. And if we take these three things and we think about how we can manage the things that make us unavailable, we are going to be able to do our job more often, and we're going to be able to do our job better. So, Lauren James, I am sure, will learn from her experience at the World Cup. We too can learn from the times that we have been frustrated and not done our jobs. How can we go back and rescript that and learn from it and watch ourselves overcome those feelings to act differently than we feel? That's the question. So, in order to do our jobs, we need to be available. That is the number one peak performance rule. If we are not able to do our job, it doesn't matter how good we are, whether that's physically or mentally. We rarely talk about the mental side, but it's what orchestrates everything together, and we know that. So how will you be more available this week, this season, this sales term? That's the question. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to work with your teams. Shoot me an email, juliej@ssbperformance.com. Subscribe to my channel. That's a great way, no-cost way to help me out and get this message out to other people. I appreciate your time. In this week, think about how available you are and how available you want to be. And until next week, manage the moments. Have a great week.